Welcome back.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to have you. You know, I've interviewed you a few times now, and I never ask you about Bette Midler.
You've never asked me about it?
No, it's strange, isn't it?
Well, I stopped telling my Bette Midler story when I was doing a comedy program with Joe Brand, and I told the story about meeting Bette Midler, and I don't think it went down terribly well.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Well, because
she's an icon.
Yes, but shall I tell you the story?
Yes, please do.
Then you'll know. We were talking backstage, and we were on those big chairs that you get on film sets with your names on the back. And she said, oh, by the way, I've got, forgive my Dolly Parton accent. Oh, by the way, I've got you 2 tickets to Dollywood. And she placed them in between her breasts. And then she leant forward as if to, said to come and get them. And as she did that, she sort of fell out of the chair. And she didn't fall on the floor, but she just fell out of the chair. So I said, oh, my goodness. She went, oh, whew, it's a good thing I didn't land on the floor. You'd have had to milk me to get me back up. And, well, I thought it was very funny. But I don't think Joe Brand did.
Oh, really?
No, perhaps it's the way I told it.
But it's amazing, isn't it? Because you were effectively summoned out to LA to be part of this new sitcom, this Bette Midler sitcom.
Yes, I was. I mean, I have to thank Jennifer Saunders and Dawn French for that, because she was such a big Ab-Fab fan that I think they had something to do with it.
Yes.
Because it was pretty. I did think to myself, now, where the hell did you see me?
But what a culture shock. I mean, how was it to live out there in the LA sunshine, filming with these stars?
It was ridiculous. It was just ridiculous. Thank God I came back. It was absurd. I don't drive, number one, so I hadn't thought about that. But I just had a wonderful 2 years. Rented this silly big house in the Hollywood Hills and had a pool and had a dog to take care of. And
amazing.
I went on a road trip twice. I mean, it was a fantastic experience, but I'm not sure I would ever want to have a career over there.
No, but at least you did it.
I did it.
Yes, exactly. And it's interesting you mentioned Jennifer Saunders and Dawn French, and of course the absolutely fabulous appearance was one of the big breaks for you, wasn't it? That was sort of where it
yes,
kicked
yes,
off.
it was. Yeah, I think that's the one that kicked it off. And again, it's always Sophie Elton, the wife of Ben Elton, spotted me in that and got me seen for something else. So
yes.
It all worked out quite fortuitously at the time.
So when you did that, obviously the character you were playing, I'll put this delicately, was quite flamboyant, shall I say? A bit light on the loafers.
Yes.
I think that's fair enough to say.
Yes.
Was there ever a risk, or were you ever feeling like maybe you might get typecast?
I was.
Oh, yeah, well.
I was. I even played a straight character in a police comedy, and apparently he was gay, and I kept saying, no.
No, he was in love with...
He's in love with Habib.
Yeah, so this is the thin blue line.
That was the Thin Blue Line.
Yes.
But, yes, and I got a kicking for that, and I kept saying, but to me, he was like Frank Spencer.
Yes.
If you remember, he was married to Betty, and no one questioned that. And he was more camp than I was.
Yeah, but they didn't share a bed, did they? I can't imagine it. Not that I've tried.
Who didn't share a bed? Frank or me?
Frank Spencer and his wife.
No, but they were doing the sort of Morecambe and Wise thing, twin beds in the same room.
Yeah.
I hoped we were past the stage of equating being camp with being gay, but because I know so many camp straight men, it's extraordinary.
But you've done other kinds of roles. Musical theatre, you were very successive.
Yes, musical theatre, going from camp to musical theatre.
That big butch genre.
I saw someone complain the other day on X saying, do you know, there's not enough gay people represented in musical theatre. And I sort of thought to myself, yeah, it's always been a tricky one for gay people.
Yeah, there's been a lot of that kind of thing, and there's been a lot of sort of soul-searching amongst the theatre industry, and there were even things at RADA. I know you were at RADA, weren't you?
Yeah.
Where they drew up a sort of list of decolonisation, let's change the name of the Shaw Theatre, and this kind of thing. This idea that there's been a lot of oppression among thespians. I'm not so sure that's true.
No, do you know something? I don't think it's true either, because... I was talking to someone the other week, and I was saying it sort of never was an issue in the arts. I'm not saying that it was tricky, back in the 70s for black people or to get work, because actually it wasn't. There wasn't an equal kick-off point, or gay people for that matter. I mean, look what happened to Rupert Everett.
Yes.
Could have been a great leading man.
Yes.
But I think now what they've done is identity politics has, unfortunately, infested the arts. And this is what I said years ago, is it has no place. Well, I don't believe it has a place in many areas, but especially in the arts, because nothing new can be created, nothing can be tested, nothing can be controversial anymore.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, isn't it? That when it comes to the arts, when it comes to comedy in particular, if you haven't got that capacity to offend, or at least the license to do so, it'll shut things down. And I'm thinking particularly because you were obviously in Gimme, Gimme, Gimme,
yeah,
which was really offensive.
Yeah.
You know, not to me personally, but I know lots of people, in particular the gay press, were pretty furious about it, weren't they?
Yes, they were absolutely livid with me, again, and I was baffled at the time because Jonathan Harvey had actually written one of the first gay characters who was obnoxious in every possible way, not virtuous, not worthy, but he was the same as everybody else, and he was actually rather proud of being gay.
Yes.
Well, of course, he didn't see this, because it's just a knee-jerk reaction. You know, a gay character comes on, and they think they own it in some way. Whereas my point was, no, well, you don't actually own anything. You own as much as everybody else does. And the interesting thing about it was that by series 3, they'd stopped giving me a kicking. Because I think it eventually realised. But it was interesting how, you know, the normal presses were sort of accepting of it from the start.
Yes.
But I always find the gay press sort of wants to own them, and if it's not done in exactly the way they want it done, you get a kicking. But I'm quite used to it now. It's like
you are, and it's still happening. I mean, you gave a keynote talk at the LGB Alliance conference, and someone dropped a bag of crickets in the hall. I'm not saying it was because of you, by the way.
It was after my speech. So.
Was it indeed?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, so what's going on there?
Well, I mean, it's it's glorious, isn't it? I mean. Dropping crickets really says it all. Dropping a bag of insects on gay people at a conference really sums it up. But I think what gets me so mad about it, because we just actually got up and carried on.
Yes.
What makes me mad about it is the fact that not one LGBT plus QIA plus organisation has had a damn word to say about it.
Yeah.
And I find that really frightening and shameful. In 2024, not one of them has even said, you know something, there's something wrong here.
Because these are the people that talk about hate crime and interpret things in terms of hate crime. This was an attack on a gay conference, a gathering of gay people.
Not only that, many were elderly, many were in wheelchairs. And in this day and age, you know, some people jumping up in the middle of an audience causes, you know, extreme anxiety and also panic, you know.
Yes.
And, you know, so in many ways, it was a damaging thing to do. But actually, you know, what they've really done, I think, in the long run, I'm hoping, is that they've just shot their own toes off. Because I'm hoping that, you know, decent-minded people will look at this and say, you know something, there's something wrong here.
Yeah.
There's something wrong that Stonewall has not said a word about it. There's something wrong. And, you know, and the ironic thing is we have just finished whatever this week is, it was actually Hate Crime Awareness Week.
Yeah.
So the irony is staggering and actually not very funny at all.
Yeah. So finally, James, do you fear that we are regressing at the moment?
I think we're definitely regressing, but I think at the same time, and I don't think it'll be over tomorrow, but I think at the same time as we are regressing, there is a huge swell that is just about to tip back. And we only need a few more people to have the courage to stand up and say, look, got to stop this, and we've got to start reversing this now. And I think we'll be on our way. But again, it's a 10 years is a grassroots movement. It's going to be a while, but I definitely have hope.
Well, James Dreyfus, that's a lovely optimistic note to end on. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. Really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.